Stuff like this happens. You get a call. We got the call this week with Gary, not able to make it out, and so we're doing the Zoom. One of the things that I have experienced and witnessed every single time in scenarios like this is you get done with the weekend and you go, holy smokes, I couldn't have imagined it any other way. What the Lord knew exactly what we needed as a church, as a group. And so when as soon as it happened and we thought this might be a possibility, we shot a text to some of our close friends who we know absolutely crush these types of topics, have a gifting for it, a calling for it. And they were like, they said yes within like 30 seconds. They're like, we're in. And so we want to introduce, Aaron and Jenna have been really good friends of ours for almost a decade. It's like been 8 years. You can say almost a decade for 8 years.
How many hours is it, though? So
a lot of
really
hours.
A
lot of hours with you. Caitlin has had a lot of hours with Jenna.
We've definitely passed the 200 hours.
Aaron and I, we both have this, I think we've even said this to each other, like, I like you because you're not needy. And he's like, I like you because you're not needy. We're great for this. Is perfect. You are just the type of friend I was hoping for, and vice versa. But man, really, really excited. I'm sure you have a couple things you'd like to say.
Yeah, I just want to tell you a little bit about who they are if you're not familiar. So both Jenna and Aaron do life coaching one-on-one, like Jenna does with women. Aaron does it life coaching with men. But also he has an amazing book, if you haven't seen it in the lobby. It's called Numb to Known, and he helps hundreds of men here locally in Reading and through Zoom online with recovering from porn addiction. And it's so powerful. We've sent so many different people and scenarios, families to him to help them. Also, they're amazing coaches for marriages. They have a pre-marriage lab. Whenever we have people that are about to get married and they're like, what should we do before we get married? They have an amazing course to go through, and that they have so much. You can find out more from them in the lobby. But honestly, what they're bringing tonight is one of my favorite topics that they preach on, that they teach on. It's tools that you're going to take with you and be like, oh my gosh, you'll probably, if you're married in here, you're going to call your spouse on it. But it's really, really good.
Thanks, guys. I'm excited about that.
It's really, really doable tools in your family, in your relationships, and we're super excited for it. I used to joke with Jenna that we know that WWJD is all about what would Jesus do, but there's so many moments that truly in my life, because of how much she's taught me just by how she lives relationships so well, that I would ask myself, what would Jenna do? How would she handle this? Because she's so good at really healthy communication, boundaries in such a loving and beautiful way. I've watched her restore relationships that truly would have been the ones that were hopeless, that I would have been like, I have every right to bow out of this relationship. She leans in and fights for restoration, and they do that as a family and as a couple, and so we're really excited that we get the gift of them teaching us today.
So everybody say, not the backups.
Not the backups.
One more time, not the backups.
Not the backups.
Aaron and Jenna Zint, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, is it on? We actually, so I am more of the creative, babe, let's try this. Is there anyone, like, I feel in a relationship, there's usually one person that's like, we should, like, paint this room. And there's the other person who's like, and maybe we get a new vanity. And then the other, maybe we do some wallpaper too. So that's me. So as we were prepping for this, I was like, babe, what if we did some visual aids too? And he was like, oh. So we rated our kids' toy boxes, literally, because I was like, oh, I'm such a visual learner, so I wanted to give like a component of it too. But yeah, we're so excited to be here. It's funny because I think sometimes when people talk about relationship tools, it could feel very like dry and maybe like, I don't know, textbook concepts versus something that feels like really meaty or juicy. But the reason we love doing this is because, like Caitlin alluded to, and this isn't streamed, right? Or is it streamed? Not streamed. Okay, cool. But growing up, I did not see, in our family, we did not do communication in a way that, you know, Cole and Caitlin were talking about yesterday, that if something's hard, you lean in and you talk about it in a way that it actually brings restoration or connection, or you can work through it. I grew up in a house where it was literally violent and it was abusive with the words. So I grew up being like, oh, when you do pain, you either destroy the other person or you avoid it to not do it that way. And then Aaron grew up more, I would say, passive. They just didn't talk about it. They were kind enough, but it would just kind of like a lot of things would pile up in the corner. And we just don't talk about them. So then when we got together, we started learning some of these tools, and we're like, is it actually possible to talk about the hard things in a way that someone doesn't get destroyed or you're not being passive? And it felt like, honestly, one of those things that you just take a risk. You're like, I've never seen it done. Like, I don't actually even have a grid for what that could look like. And so we started building our marriage. We've been married for 16 years. We started just trying. When you pick up something new and it's awkward and it feels mechanical, but you're like, they say this works. I'm going to keep trying with this eating vegetable thing because they say it's going to work one day. No, I'm kidding. Hopefully you're all convinced on the merit of vegetables, and I'm not going to convince you on that. But anyways, so in doing that, we saw like my relationship, what was really the hardest was mainly my mom. And I remember when I was like in my teens making oaths that I would probably not have a relationship when I moved out because she wasn't going to talk to me or be as aggressive to my kids as she was to me. And through learning these tools, I slowly just started implementing. I think that's the difference is sometimes we want miraculous, like overnight overhauls. And sometimes those happen. Sometimes the Lord shows up radically and it's a miraculous, Saul to Paul conversion. But sometimes it's choosing the faithful stewarding. Like, I'm going to believe you again and I'm going to try again. And I think we don't talk about the 70 times 7 where you give the person another chance and you come up humble and you try again. But fast forward now, my mom, it's crazy, but my kids love her. She's in our life. She's safe. We communicate entirely differently than how we did growing up. There's no aggression. It's actually kind. I feel like I can bring her soft things. If you would have told me when I was 19 that like a bunch of tools could actually impact, I feel teary, the change that I've experienced. It feels like probably the greatest testimony of my life. Like, if you actually believe biblically that it can do what they say, like God's promising, if you show up with kingdom perspective and relationship, it can actually breed the transformation that he promises. Like, it's true. Like, I'm shocked that when I have pain now, I actually want to call my mom and process with it. Or I'm shocked that I feel safe enough when she tells me something hard, she does it in a way that I want to care for her. I don't feel like I have to defend myself, but I'm like, So that's why we're here, is because this is probably the testimony of our lives, is actually a bunch of things that maybe could seem like simple tools, but I'm like, I've seen the impact. My mom actually just left. She came for Christmas. And as she was leaving, I was driving back from the airport, and I was just teary. I was like, God, you literally can take anything and redeem it. Like, nothing's beyond your power. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is a bunch of pragmatic things, but when you apply them with the supernatural and you believe that, Jesus is the one writing the check, it's not all on our power and it's not all on them to change, you're like, wow, it can be a total radical redemption.
Yep. You guys can hear me, right? Okay, I just realized it was going to be the first time I talked since I got up here.
And if you were wondering how the dynamic in our marriage is, there you go.
That's it. She said, what if we had visual aids? And I said, okay. And I made one box, and then I came home at lunch today, and there was 12 boxes all over the living room with paper and tape everywhere. And she's like, okay, now I know that I'm usually the one who overthinks things and plans way too much more than we can do, but hear me out.
And I told him, I was like, I already pitched it to our 12-year-old, and she thought it was a great plan. He was like,
yeah, I felt super confident after that.
He was like, that's a vote of approval. Meanwhile, our 12-year-old almost used all the battery on our iPad. Do we want to try?
I have no idea where this is supposed to be, but okay, so how pain is talked about in relationship. It's not that pain can ever be avoided in well, it can. It just doesn't usually help avoiding. I think you guys talked about that last night. But how pain is talked about in a relationship can either strengthen or splinter your connection. It can be fuel in one of two directions. Either you get more connected as a result of it, or you get disconnected as a result of it. It's usually never just like, it's the same exact thing afterwards. And what we found that conflict can be an invitation to intimacy. And so early on in our relationship, as we discovered this, occasionally when we would feel disconnected, maybe mostly because we would just kind of drift or feel like we're drifting apart, Jenna would say, hey, is there anything we need to, like, any conflict we need to work out? Because I want to feel closer to you. And I was like, I don't know that I like that way of going about this, but it was true. We felt so connected after each, not fight, but conflict. Because there is a difference between conflict and what some of us have called conflict. What some of us have called conflict is actually war. And in war, when two people don't agree, the only way to have peace is for one of them to disappear. That's called war.
Or submit, like
Or
surrender.
Surrender, submit, die, one of the two.
There's blood involved.
In
Oftentimes.
conflict, all you need is for two people to have a different opinion about something, to see it differently. And so our goal as we talk through everything that we're about to talk through, and we'll see if these visual aids work. It's definitely the first time we've tried them. But our goal would be that you go, okay, not only is conflict possible to have and have it lead to more connection, not less, but we can do that in such a way that we don't have to repair a bunch of stuff afterwards. We can actually have a conflict, go through it the first time. No, this takes practice, but go through it the first time and go, okay, my heart feels taken care of. I'm glad we actually went through that.
So our hope is to give you a strategy on how to do it. Like last night when Caitlin and Cole were talking, they said, it takes time to build relationships, it takes talking, and it takes trials, which to oversimplify trials, it's probably something painful, is gonna happen. Expect there's gonna be pain when you do relationship. So tonight we're gonna focus in on what does it look like to talk intentionally through the pain so that it actually fosters connection rather than splinters it. Because that's where we go wrong. When you wing it, I don't know anybody else, when you wing it, you're like, ooh, that was messy. I think I accidentally cut you with my words, didn't mean to, probably should have thought ahead. This is how we think ahead.
So conflict is going to happen. The problem is just that most of us don't have a thoughtful strategy on how to execute it well. And that's what we're going to give you. We're going to give you some strategies, and we're going to give you some, this doesn't work, don't try this, don't do this. There will be quite a few things. My hope is that you go, oh, I do that. That one's me. If you can do that, then rejoice. Again, I say rejoice because you just found out a way to strengthen your friendships, strengthen your marriage, strengthen your relationship with your kids. When you discover, oh, I do that thing, and the Zint said that doesn't work very well. You probably already know that, but when you discover it, you can actually do something different after that.
And one more, if you hear something that maybe someone in your relationship does well, instead of pointing the finger or being like, aha, I try to use it for a moment of understanding. I'm like, oh, when they're doing that, this is actually probably what's happening inside of them. They're not terrible. They're feeling this. I'm like, it helps me not villainize them, but kind of understand oh, maybe it's not the best strategy, but I get where you're coming from versus, see, you're wrong too.
So, if you feel tempted tonight to go, man, my so-and-so needs to hear this, then I would say, turn that little direction inward and go, maybe I need to hear this because we're going to talk about what it looks like to point that out for other people. Hard conversations, they don't have to cost connection, but they will shape it. So it's important that we have a plan for how we're going to go about it. Okay, so here's the general framework for how we visualize conflict. You can do it one of two ways. There might be a third one, but we like sticking to these two here. One is the way of the kingdom. The other is the way of the courtroom. Most relationships in our life, when we feel pain, we have a natural instinct towards self-protection. And courtrooms are really good for getting justice when you need self-protection. What they're not good at giving you is connection. I've never seen two people go to court and end up hugging afterwards. Why? Because that's not the goal. You will arrive at something in a courtroom. Typically what you arrive at is a verdict, which means one person is guilty and the other person isn't. Means one person is right, the other person's wrong. It means, I tried to declare that they were guilty and they somehow figured out enough evidence to clear their name and they are innocent. That's what a courtroom will get you. But in the kingdom, what we're going after is we're going after getting connected, to be seen, to be known, to be understood by the people that you love the most.
Steve, could you put up that scripture? Because when we wanted to reference, okay, when you're showing up as the kingdom, what does it mean for us? Do you want to read it, babe? He's better at reading, let's be honest.
Sure. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, you were called to peace.
There's a lot of awesome things in there, but if you're like me, I feel a little overwhelmed, and I'm like, how do you do that? There's a bunch of abstract concepts of compassion, of kindness,
Bear
of
with
humility.
each other.
Yeah, bear with each other. So a lot of the practicals, some of the ways, like even just when I've been, we spend hours in people's conflicts a week because of doing life coaching. And as I've been pondering the Lord, I'm like, how do you make these just not practical tools? Like why do something that we would maybe call a self-help thing, how does it translate for us as believers, like in the gospel? And the difference is I kind of think of these tools as when humility is not your default, try this. When mercy is not instinctual, this is how you align yourself with this. When you want to defend yourself or demand justice, but you're told to give grace, try this tool instead. So for me, it almost feels like, I don't know if any of you have been bowling recently with children, but you remember the bumpers? And it was like, so they could learn how to do it before they actually got the skill. That's how I feel like some of these tools are like, they are teaching you how to show up in humility and grace and mercy until you get the skill to go on your own and you don't need bumpers anymore. But for me, I still fall back. We've been teaching this for like 5, 10, I don't know, so many years. And I still have to be like, what is it we say again? Like, 'cause right now, all I want to do is get really big so that you get really quiet. But like, what does humility actually look like right now? Like, okay, it's listening first. Okay, I'm going to listen first. So that's how I think we tie back in big scriptures of this. Like, we could probably all say those things, but what does the application look like versus just vague concepts?
Yeah, so Paul's telling us to be compassionate. He's telling us to be humble, to be gentle, to be patient. And again, our natural instinctive move when we feel pain. And we're going to define pain for us is described as anytime you're feeling something other than joy. Okay, so
Disappointed, annoyed, frustrated, misunderstood.
Scared, I feel ashamed, I feel guilt, I feel lonely, I feel hurt, I feel sad, things like that. So these are, as we walk through this, these are some of the things that we do to achieve this. How do we get to be those people? Well, we practice what humility looks like. We practice compassion. Okay, so the framework for this that we want to make sure that we are doing, I spoke before the slide, but our framework is we want to go from a courtroom strategy to a kingdom strategy. And our framework is first noticing. We have to notice, oh, I'm doing the courtroom. Again, the easiest takeaway can be noticing when your friend, noticing when your spouse does it. They're like, hey, you're doing the wrong thing that Aaron and Jenna said not to do. That doesn't help. That is actually a courtroom strategy, to point out a courtroom strategy. So let's not go there. Let's not do that. So
It's like illegal to talk about Fight Club when you're in Fight Club. Same.
You don't talk about how they're doing it right or wrong in the middle of it. It hasn't worked so far. So let's kind of look at contrast. What are some ways that we operate in the courtroom versus in the kingdom when we're in conflict? So we have two. See if you can go to the next one. We have 2 columns here. When we're going into the courtroom, I'm going to act like I want you guys to put yourself in the place of I feel pain somehow. Like I felt hurt that Jenna didn't text me back all day, even though I texted her at the beginning of the day, hey, I love you, and I got nothing, and then when are you coming home? Okay. I feel something. I feel something around that. What do I feel? So if I'm going to begin to approach a conversation where I'm going to share some pain, if I notice that I'm going, you know what? I need to confront my wife. I got to confront her on not being kind and responding to my text.
Or I have to tell her some hard truths. You
Yeah.
know, like everybody encounters her this way, or she needs to get better here. It's just some hard love and truth telling.
Those are some of the nice ways that we tend to put it. Like we feel so confident in the fact that somebody is guilty here, and it sure as heck ain't me because I'm the one who's sad. Accusations, anytime that you go, you know what? This person needs some feedback. Okay. A caveat, sometimes people just need feedback, that's true. But if you feel pain, then I'm going to say your goal should not be to give people feedback, okay? It's going to be different.
We oftentimes, it almost takes a less vulnerable route to, instead of talking about the pain or your experience, to point the finger at where they could grow in feedback. And I notice how sometimes I'll sidestep the vulnerability of what I experienced or my own pain in an attempt of, well, they don't do this well, so we'll talk about that instead of my own pain.
And let's help them get better. This will be so good for them to understand how they affect me.
Yeah.
Anytime that you realize that as I bring my pain, as I'm going to share something, if you notice that you're loading up on evidence as to why this thing hurt.
Does anyone else do this in your head? You're like,
I
oh,
certainly do.
yeah, they did that. And like, Aaron didn't bring the trash in again last Tuesday. I have to always tell him. And did he remember to do the laundry? Like, he doesn't care about the work. What is it, the mental load that I have as a woman? That's like the trendy thing to call it now, the mental load. And be like, he obviously doesn't care because of all this evidence of him not participating.
Which made me think the trash is still out on the street.
But at least it's empty. It is empty.
Yes, okay. So we're making
Does
progress.
anybody know when you get that anxiousness of like, did we take the trash out? We're going to be swimming in trash if we missed it.
And then lastly, on the courtroom side, it is looking for a verdict, which means by the end of this, in order for me to be okay, I need you to agree with what I have decided is true about you or me. We have to agree, or else I'm not going to be okay. Everything here is about building a case to present. Our hearts, I believe that for the most part, our hearts is like, I want to be taken care of. I actually want to receive care, but this is the natural self-protective strategy for receiving care from somebody else. A self-protective strategy is to bring the realm of the courtroom into our relationships.
I always think of it like lawyering up. You're like, I'm not actually having a soft conversation. I'm going to lawyer up and explain to them how they've missed it.
Yep.
What about you, David? Kingdom.
Kingdom. This is looks like we're having a heart-to-heart. This is the goal is that we actually get connected at the end. Not that we agree that what you did was wrong. Not that we agree that what you did or didn't do validates the fact that I feel this, but just to be heard and to connect heart to heart. So some of the things that looks like is we're going to be sharing pain, not evidence.
There's so much more vulnerability in that.
It's way scarier. Everything on the kingdom side is way more vulnerable. This is what Jesus demonstrated so well, is vulnerability, in that he chose not to protect himself unto death. And when I think of husbands, lay your life down for your wife as Christ did for the church, I don't know. I've never had to jump in front of a bullet for Jenna, and I've never had to fight somebody off, physically. I'm trying to think of all the scenarios where I could literally lay down my life for you, but I'll tell you the ones that feel like it is when Jenna says, man, I'm feeling a little lonely with the laundry. And laying down my life for my wife in that moment looks like I don't say, I literally did it yesterday. You didn't see me do that? Laying down my life for my wife in that moment looks like I'm not going to deliver some evidence back as to why she should be wrong about that. I'm going to care for the thing that is hurting right there. So that is when somebody is sharing pain, it's vulnerable. It's even for a listener. So we have vulnerable people sharing vulnerably, but also as a listener, you can be vulnerable in not defending yourself.
And the reason why we really wanted to get into this, so if as a church you guys are going after not creating distance when you have pain, actually talking about it and showing up. Some people just jump into the deep end and not actually think through strategy of like, I want to share in a way that breeds connection versus just, have you ever been in a conversation where someone like just vents and lets it all go, and then afterwards they're like, I feel so much better?
Yeah,
Has anyone
like a bloody mess afterwards?
I was like, I've been like yelled at or just like, whoo. And I'm like, I'm glad you feel better. But it's not a two-sided exchange. It's literally almost like a release. And I think we want to clarify, like, that's not what they're looking for when they talking about the hard things. It is not an emotional, let me explain how you've wronged me. Let me lay out my case. That does not actually build connection. But if you do it strategically in a way where you're sharing pain versus evidence, you actually can strengthen connection. So it's why it matters so much.
Mm-hmm. So part of the kingdom strategies is having tender and soft conversations. That does require a lot of intentionality. Telling your experience is different than telling somebody else why they did something. Telling your experience, like, this is what I experienced from this interaction, is different than saying, you disrespected me. I felt disrespected by you is a very coded way of saying you disrespected me. And so what we want to do is we want to get to something that doesn't point at somebody else. It points at us. So when I'm sharing with you, it is literally a look at this thing and not a look at that thing that you did. And then hoping for clarity. Sometimes when I feel the most hurt by Jenna, I'm usually telling myself a story in my head. And that story is generating lots of emotion for me. And so one of the things that we want to do with the stories that we tell ourselves is we want to submit it for editing rather than evidence. I want to submit this to you to say, hey, I'm hoping to gain some clarity here. This is the story I'm telling myself about what you were thinking, what you were feeling, what those words meant, what that silence meant. I'm wondering if you could clarify. People love being able to clarify when you go, I told myself a story that your motives weren't good. Can you fix that for me? People love going, oh yeah, I'd love to fix that for you, because they want you to give them the benefit of the doubt. So hoping for clarity is a
I would say the example I instantly think of is when I'm doing something, I get in task mode. So if I'm in charge of a table or I'm leading a room, I like come in thinking about all that needs to get done. I have like a timeline. I'm like running through. So then when people come in who maybe are gonna like sit in the seats and they say hi to me, they sometimes, I've been told, encountered like a curt, dry person who seems almost annoyed that they're interacting with them. So in times, I've had people do it both ways. Like, give me a courtroom, like, you obviously don't care, I don't matter, you just want to say hi to the people, like, get a smile on when you get up there, and you're not really caring about the people. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I had to figure out what they were talking about, but then I've been approached the other way, where people are like, hey, when I came in, I felt kind of cold when I said hi, and it's not normally like how you are. What was happening? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was so stressed about the timeline and realizing I'm already 15 minutes behind that I was so in my head. Like, I did not mean to be cold to you. That was not a you thing. But the difference of how someone approaches it, we're like, hey, this is my experience versus this was your flaw. I know what you meant. It's like, it opens up me to lean in and want to take care of them versus this self-protection that naturally happens when you're presented with something that's like, I know what's happening. Let me tell you about you versus, ouch. Can you help me understand?
Most of the time, I realize I'm in a courtroom strategy when I'm arguing with Jenna in my head. I'm always winning, and then I find out at some point that she's not actually upset like I thought she was, and I'm like, oh wait, we're not fighting. I totally thought we were fighting right now. One night, she went to a women's thing, and so I was like, man, it's been a long time since I watched a movie. I'm gonna watch a movie. We have 3 kids, and I can't remember. No, they hadn't eaten because I had just got home from work. So Jenna leaves. I watch a movie on my phone. It was like no time passed at all when Jenna walked back in the door, and
It was magic. It was like a time warp.
yeah, and Jenna goes, hey, have the kids eaten? And I'm like 2 hours into this, and I'm like, oh man. And I said, nope. And she goes, okay. And then she walks into the kitchen. Now, let me break down everything that I knew she was thinking in that moment. So
Tell me about how terrible I am.
Here's what happened in my head. I thought first I had this quick flash of shame where I'm like, oh man, I haven't thought about my kids for 2 straight hours. I hope they're alive and okay, let alone fed. Okay, no, I definitely didn't do that. Oh, this is embarrassing. And then I thought, how dare she not let me rest for once? I haven't seen a movie in like 36 hours, okay? I had a long day at work. I start going through this whole list. I walk in the kitchen because I'm like, I don't want to, okay, the movie's done. The damage is done. So I walk in the kitchen, she's getting dinner ready, and as you might be able to tell by the end of our talk, you'll know that Jenna has way more words than I do for any normal situation. So if you're around her and she's quiet, that could be a hint. And I thought, yep, this is it. She's mad at me, and she never lets me rest, and I had all this whole thing going. And then at one point she goes, hey, did you want this? I made it the other night. You really liked it. And I was thinking about making it again, but I don't want to do like too many times in the same week. And it was very kind and very like chill. And I was like, that was the moment I go, oh, we're not fighting. So I was like, I would like that. And then she started talking, and I was like, okay, so here, I've taught this enough to know, I've been courtrooming I've been gathering all my evidence for why she shouldn't be mad at me. And it was a lot of shame that was coming. So then I was like, hey, the story I'm telling myself is that when you came in and asked if the kids were fed, and I said no, and you said okay, and then walked into the kitchen and then didn't say anything for a while, is that you were really upset with me for not getting food ready for the kids. Is that true? And she's like, oh, oh no, I just thought, okay, have the kids eaten? No, they haven't. Okay, I'll make something. She's like, but then immediately I started thinking about all the drama at this thing that I just went to. And it was just consuming my every thought. And so I was like, oh, that wasn't about me at all.
Okay, raise your hand though if you're married and you can relate to having a fight in your head that you find out you're only one-sided. Okay, thank you for some of your honesty. Yes.
Relatable.
Okay, so
Crushed
then
it.
what's the next one?
We're going to talk about, here's some of the ways that the speaker misses it. So,
Well,
when we
actually,
say-
before we go in, we
Sure.
just want to talk about when good intentions meet unhelpful patterns. Could you go to the next slide, Steve? So the idea of like, okay, we don't want to show up in the courtroom. We actually want to show up, like Paul said, full of humility and grace and kindness and patience. But like, how do we actually break from that being a lofty idea to implementation? Like, so we have to first take the intention and actually put it into practice. But before we put it into practice, we actually want to unpack a few ways that we usually don't do this well. So these are the misses. Okay, we're gonna act out. Okay.
All right, so
I might hurt Aaron in some of these demonstrations, you guys. It's
she
gonna
did
be
at
wonderful.
home explaining it to
Yeah.
me, so. Okay.
I don't know how strong I am. Okay, so the first one, when the kingdom calls us to compassion, humility, gentleness, it's worth asking, where do we most often drift away from that in real conversation? So I think oftentimes when we deliver our pain, it's probably the easiest way that we could like get some low-hanging fruit adjustments. And these are the examples of when the speaker misses it and we're not showing up in kingdom. How are we showing up in courtroom? I would say number one, oh my gosh, this is funny. I can imagine some of you can relate to this. When the speaker overwhelms the listener with content, speed, like quality of things. Can anyone relate to, I am an overwhelmed, thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Yep, okay, I was going to, sometimes it's the girl.
Can
Cole
anyone
is.
relate to being the one who overwhelms people? Because you have a lot to say.
Are you overwhelmed?
I typically say way more than is necessary for the.
And it's funny because there's this idea of it's too much, it's too fast, and maybe it's too loaded. So one of the most common ways we miss it as a speaker is by overwhelming the person we're speaking to. And it could look like sometimes we overwhelm them, not just because we have words. Has anyone ever realized like, oh, I have some pain, and then all of a sudden as you're talking about it, you realize you had pain yesterday, and you had pain last week, and actually let's talk about it 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden it's
this
almost
isn't a
like,
one-time thing. This is a pattern.
yeah.
I'm now
Sometimes we
discovering.
tease and we call it emotional constipation, where you're like, oh, well, while we're on a roll, let me tell you all of the things that have happened. And it's so overwhelming to be in the listeners when you're getting the list. Like what started small is now like a laundry list of your shortcomings or your pain, depending on how well they're doing, right? And then another example, another reason that we overwhelm is too many examples. Is there any other? I personally will be like, I'm not sure that he got it that way. So let me tell him about 2 weeks ago when he also did this. Or maybe he needs to understand, like, or just repeating. Like sometimes we just repeat the same example because based on his facial expression, my husband's a little more stoic, I'm a little bit more vivacious, and I'm like, oh, he's not getting it. Okay, let me try it again so that when I get some level of a reaction, I will feel heard or validated or cared for. And in doing so, I just overwhelm him with how many times? Excessive details, oh my gosh, I'm a detail girl. And Aaron's like, really, was it important to know what you had for lunch in the middle? I'm like, yes, stay with me.
It's part of the reason why I'm upset at you.
Or jumping across multiple situations, and then you're like, wait, I was tracking, but I can't tell if we're talking about your mom anymore. Are we talking about what your coworker said to you? And it's like, if you cared, you'd be able to understand and like follow my train of thought. Are you even listening? Like that's one we hear a lot. And then just dumping everything at once. So can we act it out now?
I'm
When we
waiting.
over-
Yeah, let's. I'm waiting for the. I think you can do one at a time.
Yeah, like, when you didn't text me in time to grab the thing from the grocery store.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely handle this thing that she just gave me.
But I think the other day, like a couple days ago, I had asked you if you could pick up the kids from school, and you also didn't respond.
But there, yeah, okay, there was that thing as well.
Sometimes it feels like maybe you actually think that the kids are my responsibility, and I should figure it out.
Yeah, I don't have a rebuttal for that one.
Sorry, gotta use the mic.
Yeah.
These are just made up examples anyways. Sometimes but when I tell you these things and I share the pain, last week you didn't even care. You fell asleep while I was telling you about my pain.
It
And
was
sometimes you even tell me
11:30.
why you can't do it because you're not putting things on the schedule. And it's not my job to put things on the schedule. It's your job to put things on the schedule. And my dad used to do this too, to my mom. This is a trait. Men expect expect the women to care for the children, and it's their job to share about it. And I think I see Wesley doing it. Our son's name is Wesley. I think our son's doing it as well. He's expecting me to come over and clean up his messes because I'm the woman, and that's my job. And I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
And then, you know what? This is, we were talking about in our ouches and pains. A lot of times when we overload people, the actual heart message gets lost because we give so many details. And after I gave him a laundry list of all the ways he failed, and if he could keep up with the cross-reference stories, great. And then I give him my heart at the end and be like, yeah, oh, I knew it. You can't handle my heart. You're like, no, I'm trying to. I'm like, no, if you cared, you could handle my heart. But there's my heart on the floor. I knew it. This is what you're thinking. It does not matter.
Yep. So there you go. That was like the fruit of all the arts and crafts right there.
That's right. But it's true. We actually give them so much detail, or when we overwhelm the listener, we give them so much detail, and then there's a bit of heart in there, and we expect them all to handle it well, but we've overwhelmed them, and it's like, they actually even say your nervous system can't handle or track sometimes. So when you don't show up well, it's less that they don't care. We take it as evidence that this doesn't matter, and more of how I was delivering it did not actually set you up or set myself up
Literally,
for getting
overwhelm shuts down care.
Yep.
Overwhelm shuts down care. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Glad the visual aid worked.
We're going to use them so many times.
The next mistake that we tend to make, there's a couple ways that we communicate that are the most natural in self-protection. One would be an aggressive delivery.
Cole said that he's been trying to unlearn this. He self-confessed. Can I say that?
Yeah.
What did you say? Own your tone or something like that?
Own your tone.
Own
That's
your tone.
really good.
That is a good one.
So typically, you have like 3 ways of communicating pain that are all self-protective measures. Would be aggressive, passive-aggressive, and withdrawing. And we're not going to talk about the withdrawing as much because we're talking about when people actually bring it. So the aggressive delivery, it looks a little bit like Jenna would like to share this with me. She would love for me to understand this. But what's actually winds up happening is that she begins to deliver it.
I was going to say, my aggressiveness, I lose the heart in my tone, in my intensity, in my sharpness, in my edge. And then I get mad at him when he doesn't handle my heart. So I'm gonna throw some blocks at him. Really? Well, you didn't actually come home when you said, so we didn't even have lunch. And I couldn't believe it because you knew that, like, the play was happening. These are real-life examples. So then I had to bring her late, and she was crying because, preteens cannot handle... Oh, sorry. And it's because you never care. You're not even involved in the family. If you cared, you would ask what... Okay, that was actually a lot of fun. And then I'm like...
I knew you'd enjoy that one.
I was like, I enjoyed that one too. And I was like, but I just feel alone.
Cool.
Do you notice, what did he do, like literally instinctually when I was throwing things at him? What was Aaron doing? Defensive. So what happens a lot of times is when we get aggressive, there's literally a natural reflex to be defensive. And we get sad and disappointed when we then hand them our heart after there was a ton of unsafe communication and they're defensive. So this awareness of like, oh, actually aggression, I think there's, aggression does not meet my needs. It feels good sometimes. It's like this release to actually feel like I'm matching the pain that I'm feeling with the intensity of my tone. But it's actually a flawed strategy. Like if I actually want heart care, being aggressive is gonna shut this person down in a way that there's no capacity to share from my heart. Like they're just like, is it over yet? Like tell me if I can come up.
Oh, the passive-aggressive, this is more my preferred strategy. I'll be holding something here and go like, I'm feeling something, but I'm usually a little quiet about it. I'm not saying anything. And
Be like, so we're, okay, cool. So you're fine and...
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm totally fine.
Okay,
we're good.
Cool.
That could have been anybody. I don't actually know. That was maybe a kid.
I thought you said, and then I'm the one that's like, I thought you said we were good.
I am, and I'm telling the truth.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's weird. So you're...
I've been trying to tell you for a while now. I thought it was obvious. Or if she stops asking me if I'm okay, even though I've told her yes I am. If she stops asking me, then it's evidence that she doesn't care, because she should know.
Like,
she should.
come dig it out of me if you actually cared.
Sometimes that is the way What did she say?
Come dig it out of me if you actually cared.
Oh, yes.
There is a level of like, what's the word? Like not ownership. Like if you, like, it's my pain, but show me it matters to you by working versus this like, oh, actually I'm an adult and I'm always going to manage myself. So even in my pain, I'm going to hand it to you softly because really it's self-serving. If I'm not passive aggressive, if I'm not aggressive, the odds of my heart getting care are the highest if I'm thoughtful with how I hand it to you.
And even if you don't name your pain, it will leak out. Anytime that you decide to hold it inside, it will come out one way, shape, or form. Sometimes it will come out as like a passive aggressive. For me, the silent treatment is a good way to
Sarcasm.
express that. Sarcasm is a good way to express that. Sometimes it is just I've shoved it down enough that I'm not even aware of it. But man, I have a lot less margin than I used to have. It just feels like everything you do is so annoying, and I can't figure out why. The things I liked about you, I don't like about you anymore. In fact, they are hindering. In fact, I don't like them. That is typically a sign that we have unnamed pain that is leaking out. Sometimes that comes up in depression. Sometimes it comes up in anxiety. Sometimes it just comes up in, I look over at you and I go, I don't know that I like you all that much.
Or I'll think, oh, they're so annoying. And to me, one of our clues would be like, for you, when you're noticing passive aggressive, like, okay, I'm in the courtroom. I'm being a courtroom communicator. What does it actually look like to be in the kingdom? And you have to pause to actually go figure out, rather than be so aware of what they're doing is annoying, being like, oh yeah, when I'm annoyed, that's usually a cue that I have some unnamed pain. I'm going to pause and go sit with myself to be like, where is it in me? Versus like, it's just so easy to watch them do all the things that bother you, and instead of getting curious, like, wait, I have to remember this is indicative of I need to go sit with myself and figure out what's going on inside of me.
I'm going to say there's many strategies that we have employed, that we watch people employ for the courtroom, but one of the big ones is I'm going to tell you the pain that I have, but the package that it comes in is something totally different than the heart that you're trying to express. This is your cue.
Okay. It's when the real ouch is wrapped in accusation. Like, you never listen. You don't care. You always do this.
So I'm seeing this and I go, okay, she says I never listen. Well,
Listening right now.
let's figure this out. Yeah, I'm listening now. Remember that time yesterday when you talked for super long and I listened to that? Let's talk about who doesn't listen. And remember that time just yesterday when you were on your phone and I was trying to explain how my day was going and you just didn't stop. So what I'm responding to as the listener when I get given this, I'm responding to this. But really inside this, and I have no idea, really inside this is what Jenna wants to communicate to me. But I'm responding to the outside. I'm responding to the packaging. And she's going, why does this hurt? Why is this so much worse? When I shared my pain with you, that your response hurts way more.
Or one of the things I'll hear is sometimes the spouse will be like, they never own their stuff. And you're like, oh, and like they'll never admit when they're wrong. And then you sit with them and you listen how they share their pain with their spouse. And you're like, yeah, because there's a ton of blame underneath it. Like they can't even get to the part of, oh, you feel really sad and alone and you want some things to change. All they're hearing is how I failed you, how I'm not enough, how so-and-so is better, what I could be doing differently. Like there's so much blame, like it's so thick that they're not even hearing the heart message at all, but then you're showing why it's their problem and not your problem.
And blame is typically very subtle. So we'll go, no, I wasn't blaming you. I wasn't blaming you for any of it. It's just that when you drive, it freaks me out. And here's really what I'm getting at. I just would love to not feel like I'm about to die on the way to church. And that's just me sharing my pain.
That's a great example. We're like, there's some element of truth, but really underneath, there's fear and sad, and I don't enjoy this. I would do like, my thing, the real life example is I'd be like, sometimes I feel like when we're late, you drive like your teenage angsty self, and if you could not do that, it's awesome when my head doesn't hit the window when you take a turn, you know? And he just hears blah, 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 blah. Do you think Aaron ever...
Here's what I hear. Here's what I have heard in the past was Aaron's a bad driver. And I go, ooh. I have only had 3 speeding tickets.
Actually, this is what happens. He gets out, when he hears blame, he's like, oh, you think I'm a bad driver? I actually put our bills in here, so don't take our identity. But he's like, I'm actually not a bad driver. I remember this conversation verbatim. I have never gotten a ticket. And I was like, well, bad driver, I don't think good drivers would make their wives' head hit the dashboard when they drive. And now we're fighting back and forth. But really what I'm saying is I want my husband to care that I feel scared and while we're driving. But instead, we're like toe to toe. We're lawyering up. We got our evidence cases. And it no longer, I don't know where our heart is. It's no longer about the heart. It's about being in the courtroom.
So here's the way that the listener, we talked all about the speaker then, but here's the way the listeners can tend to miss it very easily, is when somebody naturally hands us their heart and says it, even if they do a great job or if they do a terrible job, you have agency, you have power as the listener to dig beneath the stuff that they're sharing, to actually go, oh, there's some blame there, but I know there's pain beneath this. That is the goal. Anytime you notice that you're feeling defensive, there's probably pain coming from the person who's talking to you.
The best way I always think about this is we have 3 kids. We have a 6-year-old, we have a 9-year-old, and we have a 12-year-old. And the 6-year-old on a regular basis gets offended that I won't let him have ice cream for dinner. Like, truly. Mm-hmm. And it escalates, and he's mad, and it gets to the point of, at some point, he's saying, you're a terrible mom. If you loved me, literally, he says these words. It escalates, but he's like, if you loved me, you would give me ice cream for dinner. And what I don't do, what it's easy to do when it's a child, is to be like, oh, you don't mean that. Actually, you're just super sad because you would like ice cream, and ice cream sounds delicious. But when it's another adult, we get like, oh, no, sir. Like when they hand us something funky and blame, we don't look for the heart behind it like it's so easy to do with kids. So some of the times I actually literally think when I'm listening and someone's handing me a package full of blame or outrageous or they're being aggressive, I'm like, okay, if I was treating them like a child and I wasn't actually getting slimed or focusing on what they're saying, what could they possibly be feeling behind this? Oh, maybe they're really feeling misunderstood. Maybe they feel really afraid that I don't care. Maybe they're afraid. My mom's a great example of when she still feels like things aren't like she loves making big plans for our family. And if we're late for the reservation or the hotel rooms aren't next to each other, she'll get more and more aggressive. And I was so confused by it until finally I was like, okay, remember not to be a courtroom. I was just trying to like tell her why it was inappropriate for her to escalate at the front hotel room, at the front desk. And I remember being like, oh my God, I was like lawyering up. I was like, this is not how we talk to people, Mom. This is not her fault that the rooms aren't together. And finally I remembered like, okay, if you were treating one of your kids, you wouldn't get lost in the message. You would actually like listen for the heart behind it. What is your mom possibly feeling, even if her delivery is so sloppy? And I was like, oh, I actually think she's beneath the anger. She's afraid that she spent so much effort trying to coordinate a really special time that this detail going wrong might derail some of our connection and all of our planning might go out the window. Oh. Okay, maybe her delivery is sloppy, but I can get close and actually talk to that. And after that moment, like when I had to, it's so like, I'm sure you guys have been in scenarios where it's like you're getting slimed by the delivery, like the poor delivery, the aggressive, the passive aggressive, the whatever. But if you could pause for a second and be like, what's the heart behind it? Like, what could they possibly be feeling? Then you could talk to it. And I went back in because I was like so overwhelmed with how my mom was talking to this front desk lady. And then when I connected, I was like, hey, Mom, I know that you did a lot of work trying to get us here, and I know this feels really sad that we're not together. Why don't you why don't you go and play with the grandkids and let me see what I can do? I'll take over for here. And she actually like de-escalated in us because she felt seen. I wasn't actually combating her big aggressive message. I actually addressed her heart behind it, and it de-escalated like that. She went to the playground with my kids. We figured out the room thing, and it wasn't a situation. But if I had just got caught up in the delivery, I would have missed the heart behind it, and we never would have actually found connection that led to a solution. Mm-hmm.
So common ways, when you hear somebody's pain, one of the most common ways that you might respond courtroom-wise is I might say, hey, I feel some pain, hand that over to her, and then she might respond with...
Well, I also don't feel like it matters in our relationship, or,
Yes, that was great. So she starts handing pain back to me.
And I don't know that you can hand it back to me. Have you ever experienced this where one person tells you some pain and then they hand yours back and then you're like, wait, no, this has happened to me before, and it's almost like this match your pain.
Let's figure out who has the bigger pain here, and that's really going to decide who should receive care in this moment. So that's sharing your own pain when somebody else has started with theirs. Not good to do. Now, okay,
It's not helpful.
It's unhelpful. You are going to have your own. Especially, this was one of the sessions we did a long time ago with a couple. We said, okay, Christmas was really difficult for you guys. We hear that. So tell us about what was going wrong, what went wrong. And the wife had given her husband a drill for Christmas. When he took that out, what he thought, the story he started telling himself was, oh, she wants me to be like her dad and just fix all the things that I don't know how to fix. This looks like hey, I know you're not capable, but let me try to make you like somebody else who is capable. So this is a big old story that he tells himself. Now, that's not even like the biggest part of the problem. It was when he said, okay, well, let's have you go ahead, share with her the story you were telling yourself. And so he starts sharing that story. The story I was telling myself was that you wanted me to be like your dad and you didn't think I was good enough. The reaction from her was, I cannot believe you thought that about me. That which is her saying, now you take care of this ouch that just happened to me as a result of you sharing that ouch. It's okay to feel hurt when somebody else shares their pain with you. It's just there's a time and a place for that, and it's after care has been given. So we want
Can you do the next slide, Steve?
We want care. Care has to come before comparison. And actually, a better way maybe of saying this is care needs to come instead of comparison. Because you will get a chance. It just can't be now. We actually want to help the person go, you get me. And then if there's a place for it, we can go, hey, can I share something? When you told me that, this is what happened to me, and I felt really sad because the story I'm telling myself is that you think that I'm against you, and I'm totally not. And if the first person who shared pain has expressed, I feel cared for, neurologically what happens is the blood flow moves from the back of or it's not quite the back, but the limbic system, which is your fight or flight area. That's when we feel strong emotion. That's where a lot of the blood flow is. It moves away from your prefrontal cortex, which is the smart part of you. And so when we are emotional, we are dumber versions of ourselves. So if you want somebody to care for you well after you experience some pain, go ahead and care for them first. Because what's going to happen is it's going to turn the front of their brain on. They're going to go, you care about me. And then you go, hey, can I share something? And this part is active, and it goes, yeah, let's do that. Long-term thinking is activated after somebody feels care. And so they go, no, the point isn't to win right now. The point is actually to care for this other person. But it takes one person to do it first. Somebody has to decide to do it first. The second one would be dismissiveness. Explaining, I totally hear.
This is me. I used to do this all the time. I thought it would shortcut his pain. He'd be like, ouch. I'd be like, no, I didn't mean that. I was actually talking to Caitlin. Problem solved.
Yeah. So now that you understand that I didn't actually do anything wrong, do you feel better? And most of the time,
he'd say no, and then I'd be like, why can't you bounce back? Now that you have the data that wasn't how you thought.
So this is very easy and common to do because we don't actually want the people we love to hurt. So we go, let me explain why you shouldn't feel that. That's what comes out. That's what the messaging is whenever we go, here's my explanation. So there is a way to do this, and we're going to jump through the next one really fast before we tell you this is what it is. Their pain doesn't need your permission. If they feel something, it is okay for them to feel it, regardless of how they arrived at that conclusion. Pain does not need to be rational to be valid. It just needs to be felt.
And one thing that helped me is when we got out of the courtroom, he could have a pain, and I wasn't, this verdict of does Jenna suck as a wife wasn't hanging in the air, where I actually felt a lot of I have to explain this away because I don't want to be a terrible wife, where now it's that's off the table. It's just trying to connect and me to understand your heart. I'm not proving or disproving something, so I can sit and hear you without feeling I don't know, does anyone else sometimes feel like a timer's ticking? The more they say, the more I hear, the more it's proving that I failed him or he's mad at me. I get it, I'm terrible. But when we take that out, when we actually almost kill that concept of when we're sharing pain, that's courtroom mentality, we can actually, it takes the pressure off to be present in a way where I'm not hitting a limit because I'm not listening through, am I bad? Have I failed you? I'm I'm just hearing what you have to share. Of course. I can care.
So let's jump to, Steve, a few slides later that says kingdom sharing. Here's the way that we want to do this. Kingdom sharing, nice and simple. One, keep it short. The best way to keep it short is to actually prepare what you're going to say before you say it. Don't just come in like, gunslinging and hoping that something works out really well. If this,
You come like this, and you're like, I'm ready.
so prepare, so that all that you're doing is you get down to the base level. What is the thing that hurts? And I'm going to hand you just that one thing. Keep it short. Keep it soft. If you notice that you're an aggressive or a passive aggressive, a communicator, it's going to take a lot of self-control. The good news is that you have the Spirit of God inside of you. And that is who you're going to need to pull on in order to deliver a soft message. Then we want to keep it blame-free. This is really difficult to do because it feels like I can just say, if I just explain, if I just share whatever comes to my mind, then that's going to be how I feel the most understood. We have to get down to the emotion. We have to be willing to share just the emotion itself, maybe a couple facts, which is different than our opinions, a couple facts about what happened and the story we told ourselves. That is the best way to give a message blame-free. We're just looking for a heart share here.
Can I give one example? Okay, courtroom would be maybe like, I know you guys do seasons with your, is it home group, core groups? What do you call it? Home groups. Maybe your home group met together in the fall and in the spring. Most of them that were invited, but you didn't get invited back. And it would be like, oh, it'd be so easy to feel some pain and to start making up a story about what you're experiencing. And I'm like, you know what? Cole and Caitlin have been telling us that we should, it's going to get hard at some point, but let's not disconnect. Let's actually lean in. Let's have this conversation. What would be a temptation to show up in the courtroom is to tell him, like, hey, apparently we didn't make the cut. I don't know if we're not cool enough for you, but it's kind of obvious that everyone's there except us, and feels pretty much like we got the short end of the stick with that one. So, ouch, That is not kingdom. That would be assumptions, even though it was short. There was a lot of assumptions. There was a lot of it's almost easier to make it shallower and jokey than actually be vulnerable. Like, hey, I noticed, a kingdom share would be like, I noticed that we didn't get invited back, and there were some families that got invited back. And I don't know what the rationale is, but there's a little bit of hurt that happened, and we're not at the table anymore. Yeah, I feel sad.
There. Here's what we're doing right now, is we are sharing the ouch, not the verdict. Yeah, that's good. So I have a lot of reasons why I believe that I feel the pain that I feel. I have a lot of explanation. It feels pretty obvious to me. It feels easy to arrive at a verdict. But what I'm doing is I'm sharing the ouch, not the verdict itself. Kingdom listening. So sharing would look like soft, short. It would look like I'm going to try to remove all the blame possible. I'm going to share something. I'm going to just share the ouch and not the verdict. Kingdom listening means my goal, my number one goal is not to, once I see that you're sharing something with me that feels like it's loaded with evidence, like you just handed me this packet, so whether they do it good or bad, I feel like now I need to figure out my evidence to explain why that's not true. Our goal needs to be to set down any kind of evidence and go, I just want to understand what you're experiencing. I want to understand. Seek first to understand, then be understood. If you can help someone feel understood, which is not the same thing as agreeing, but if you can help them feel understood, again, we're going to move the blood flow from the back of their brain to the front where they go, yeah, you get it. And at that point, we may be able to share, can I share what was going on inside of me? At that point, when the blood flow is up here, they'll go, oh, or more likely to say, yeah, okay, go ahead. And they'll hear it. Because if you start sharing the explanation before they feel understood, they're just going to go, you don't get it. I don't care why you did what you did. I want you to feel what I feel. I want to feel felt right now. So our goal is to first understand, and then lastly, to bring full amount of care. So when I usually do these little sock puppets in our coaching sessions, so when you say ouch, and then you say ouch back, both of you just keep going ouch, 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 and you know what's not happening is any care. No care is happening there. Or ouch, and let me explain why that didn't make sense. Or ouch, and then let me give you a little justification for it. What we want to do is one person says ouch, and the next thing this person does is go care, care, care.
Somebody make
It's nice and simple.
I know there's got to be a crafty person out here. Somebody make this man some sock puppets.
I think we would lose clients if that happened. So.
You're probably right. That's true.
So we are looking to communicate, hey, if it matters to me, that this matters to you. That's what we're getting at. If the person sharing pain, even if they don't do it really well, can feel like it matters to you that I experience this, what we do is we bring care to their hearts. And a lot of times what we do is we diffuse it. Sometimes Jenna just goes like, oh yeah, that actually sounds really hard. I'm really sorry that you experienced that. Like, man, I so wouldn't want you to feel that. And I go, oh. And she goes, hey, can I explain like what was going on in me? Sometimes I go, you know what, doesn't matter. I actually feel pretty good right now.
It's shocking to me that it's that simple sometimes. Like, I think I need to bring a solution. I think I need to bring a strategy. I think I need to whatever. But him just feeling like I care and it matters solves something, and and I'm like, that's it? This feels like cheating. This is actually, when you like commit to showing up differently, it is easier than the effort you've been putting into war with way less good results.
Kingdom conversations. This is a few slides later because we're ending right now, but kingdom conversations create safe places for hearts. That's the goal of what we're arriving at, is that when we're sharing pain, when we're hearing pain, I want to create safety right now. Sometimes that's really difficult to do because what I feel is really tense and like I'm not safe. And so if you recognize, oh man, I feel ready for a fight. I recognize that I'm loading up on my evidence. I've got piles of this ready to go. And go, okay, I don't feel safe. It's not it is part of our responsibility to create safety for each other, but there's also our responsibility to recognize I'm not actually unsafe right now. The same signals that go off in your head when you're about to be attacked physically go off in your head when you feel like you're being attacked emotionally. Your brain does not differentiate between the emotional experience and a physical experience. They both feel like DEFCON 10. They both feel like I'm about to die or I'm about to be, my safety is threatened. So part of our job is to go, I'm not actually in danger right now. So I want to create a safe place for them to experience safety. I want to create this for them because I know if I can do that, it's going to calm down all the threat perception that they feel. And I might actually get a chance at feeling some care on my end. The goal isn't always just to, let me calm you down so you can help me out. And we want to make sure that we actually go at this with the right heart. But that is what we're doing. Kingdom Conversations, they create safe places for people to share pain.
I literally simply still to this day have to remind myself when someone is sharing pain, whether they're doing it good or bad, I just kind of disassociate for a second and be like, okay, you're just listening to their heart. You're not bad. You're just listening to their sad. They can be sad, and it doesn't mean you're bad. They can be mad, and it actually does not equate to your badness. You just want to care for their heart. I'm like, and then I tune back in, and I'm like, okay, what are they saying? But otherwise, defensiveness and self-protection is so innate in us.
It is innate.
You have to train your brain to show up differently if you want humility and grace to be your natural fruit.
All right, so stand up. We're going to pray for you guys.
Could you do one more slide, too?
Oh, yeah, go to the...
The invitation for this week is to just practice one small thing. So whether you're an oversharer, whether you're aggressive, whether you're passive aggressive, I can't remember the fourth one.
If you notice somebody else is sharing pain right now and you feel really defensive, it's an opportunity for you just to go, okay, I'm listening. They can be sad and it doesn't mean I'm bad. They can be in pain and it doesn't mean I'm to blame. Go ahead. I've got you.
Yeah. So one small practice this week of creating a kingdom culture where you're a safe place for their heart and to share your heart.
Okay, and now this is difficult to do at best, so we all need Jesus for this. So hold out your hands. Holy Spirit, I ask that you would make us so aware of what's happening in our own hearts when we feel some hurt, when we feel some pain. I just ask that you would give us clarity, that you would help reveal when we are starting to self-protect instead of looking to protect our connection with each other. I ask that you would give us eyes to see the pain in other people, even when they deliver it so poorly. I ask for the humility and the grace to listen vulnerably to somebody else's share, to not defend ourselves. God, you bind up the brokenhearted. You set prisoners free. You do incredible things for people who are in a lot of pain. And we want to be like you. So we just ask that you would give us the grace to do that. We ask that you would give us the humility. We need you. We cannot do this without you.
But we just released that Risen King will be a place where soft conversations are had, where connection is actually strengthened when they have conversations about pain. It won't be splintered. They would act, whether they grew up in a home where they saw this modeled or not, whether they're practicing it or not, that this would be a turning point and an invitation as a community, as you're going after this, to do it differently, to see actually connection being built after hard conversations, because there's no villains, there's just safe places for hearts.
Yeah.
In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks, guys.
Man, thank you guys.